is if you started your safe journey on your own and things are not going as you expect them to go, or it's all falling apart, is there a way out? So the simple answer to that question is yes, there is. And we know that any transformation journey is long and it's hard, and it needs more time and energy than you think you need. And your best bet is to have a guide who's been on the journey before. They've got a few scars and they can help you on the way. Now, within SAFE, one of the key success patterns that has been captured in the implementation roadmap is not just a linear sequence of events just because somebody sat in a room and came up with it. Is actually as a result of both theory and practice. Theory based on a lot of work by one of the leading change professionals, Professor John Cotter, and practiced by over 20,000 successful implementations of SAFE across the globe. So that's what the implementation roadmap provides. And yes, SAFE is freely available and everybody looks at it and then they try and do it yourself, do a DIY. And typically you either skip a step or you misinterpret what the step is, and then you get into a bit of hot water. So what's your way out? Well, engage somebody who's done this before. They will guide you, they will help you. How would they guide you? Well, they will do an assessment of where you are, understand what needs changing right now, and guide you to do that change. When we've done this kind of thing before in the past, one thing that typically shows up is the way that the teams are configured is not aligned with a safe way of working. In other words, we got teams that are functionally, if you like, configured. Somebody looked at the hierarchy or the organization chart and turned it sideways and says, well, these are our teams. We're going to have a team doing testing, doing development, whatever. That is not safe. That was never the case. And if that happens to be your problem, and it's very difficult to have a generic answer to this, and if you are finding that you're getting lots of dependencies when you do your PI planning, or when you want to have an integrated solutions, things are not ready because one team is there, the other teams are not there, or the dependency hasn't been met, that's a likely signal that that's something you should consider doing. How do you go about addressing that problem? Well, look at running value stream and agile release train identification workshop that provides you the data and the insight to move forward. So the solution, if you like, is simple. Gain knowledge about your system of work, identify what is not working, and then act on that knowledge and move forward. So that could be one, if you like, set of signals and patterns that you see. Maybe you don't have too many dependencies, but what you will see is that things take a lot longer than you want, and the quality may not be as high as you expect it to be. So what would you do then? But look at running the value stream mapping workshop. Value stream mapping workshop is designed for you to understand how the work flows within your organization, your product development life cycle, from ideation to it being in the hands of the customer or any other service that you deliver, and then having a look at, what are the steps, what's the workflow, if you like, what is the waste, and what's the impact of that waste. So once you identify what are the steps, what's the waste, and what's the impact of those wasted, if you like, steps, then it allows you to focus, if you like, that gives you an intervention map to say, okay, these are where we have the most delays or the most constraints. And the impact of that is that it will delay our releases by 20 days. Or it could be the impact is there's about a days of waiting here, but I've got another step that is causing me 4 weeks of delay. Well, maybe I should go after that first. So once you identify the step and the impact, then you do another but if you like, a quick mapping to say, okay, these are the things I want to go after, but you do an effort and impact, if you like, matrix, or sometimes we call it a quick ROI. What are the things that are going? What is the one that is giving me the longest delay, if you like? Typically, we do this for value, but you can do it for delay. It works just as well. What are the things that are giving me the longest delay, and what's the impact? And then you can go and say, okay, which ones are the quick wins where I can get after them with the least amount of effort, and those are that really tough, and yes, I still need to go after them, and some of them you may decide that actually not much point going after them. So that gives you, if you like, a way forward. So generic question, if you like, responses, there isn't a recipe that I can give you to say this is what you need to do, step 1, step 2, step 3, this is what you want to do. But if there is a recipe, if you like, the recipe is going to be gain knowledge about the system of work. In other words, go to the work and study it and make sure you have a good understanding of how the work works, not your interpretation or somebody's report. You need to understand it as a leader, as a manager, as a head of unit. You need to understand that. You need to get that detail. Now, and then once you have that data, that will give you what interventions you need to run in order to improve it. And there are a couple of workshops, as I mentioned, that could potentially help you: the value stream mapping workshop and the Agile release identification workshop. So value stream and Agile release train identification workshop. So up to you how you want to proceed, but those would be my recommendations.